Okay, UEFA has come out and issued an apology to both Real Madrid and Liverpool following the Champions League final chaos. Now, initially, the French authorities were blaming the Liverpool supporter base for having no tickets or fake tickets. But what is striking is when Real Madrid came out and said actually some of our fans faced issues in gaining entry to the stadium with their tickets, and that on social media, this is where it gets big, is this is not an isolated problem with the Stade de France. Now, the Stade de France is a stadium that's been around for 25 years. It's hosted World Cup finals, it's hosted Euros finals, Six Nations matches, Rugby Union final. This stadium has hosted some of the biggest sporting events in the world. And this is not an isolated problem with what happened last week at the Champions League final. Now, the authorities were quick to blame the Liverpool fans. And the Liverpool fans do travel well in Europe, and of course there is always that, it's easy to blame Liverpool because of things that have happened in the past. It is. But when Real Madrid came out in the last 24 hours and also said our fans also faced issues and we're not happy with how the security and the event was handled by UEFA and the stadium security and the French police, the tune is changed coming out of UEFA. And they've been very, very, oh dear, because at first Real Madrid hadn't issued anything, any statement. Liverpool were highly critical very, very early on, and what made it worse was there was obviously the live pre-match broadcasts were going on around the world with all the TV stations, and British TV, BT Sport, which I was watching on YouTube, you actually saw fans approaching saying, they're tear gassing us, and you could see fans who were visibly injured in and around the ground with their kids, families, being tear gassed by the police. So it delayed the start of the final by 35, 40 minutes delay. And the scenes were being broadcast live. This wasn't like an instant before the match outside, in the bottleneck where there was a riot or something, like some serious football disorder that we've seen at major footballing events in Europe in the past, like in the Euros in 2016, between rival sets of fans. This wasn't an instant following the game. This was an instant where fans were just trying to get into the stadium through a very tight bottleneck, and this is not an isolated problem with the Stade de France. This is not a stadium with teething issues. This has been going on for the best part of 2.5 decades since the stadium opened, because there's been Champions League finals here before, and there's been Rugby World Cup finals. Obviously the French Cup finals played in the Stade de France. They've had World Cup and Euros matches played in the Stade de France. This is not an isolated problem with fans getting into the stadium in a timely fashion for kickoff and having issues with their tickets and issues with bag searches and issues with the stadium security and the police. This is not an isolated issue. UEFA were clearly aware of these problems, and it's made UEFA look, well, really, really bad. Now, Real Madrid and Liverpool aren't necessarily the most popular clubs on the continent, with their backing of the European Super League and how, well, Liverpool with their fan base sometimes misbehaving in Europe, and they're not overly popular as it is. They're clubs you love to hate. But when UEFA comes out and goes, well, it's taken us a week, we're going to apologise, it's not a good look from UEFA. It's pretty poor, and it breaks down the trust yet again with fans and the governing body, because at the time, it's the thing called social media now that wasn't there when these issues first arose all those years ago with the Stade de France, with stadium entry and fans getting in and out of the stadium in a timely, safe fashion. Social media is a thing now, and when fans were posting things on social media in the build-up saying we've been queuing for 3-4 hours to get in, one set of security is saying our tickets aren't valid, the other set of security that we've just gone to said, yeah, they pass. This wasn't good. It was embarrassing for UEFA. And social media has embarrassed UEFA into acting, because while Liverpool and Real Madrid aren't, as I say, very popular in their domestic leagues or with other clubs' fan bases for various things, and with football fans in general necessarily, they're clubs you love to hate. The fact that as soon as Real Madrid came out and made a complaint and wrote a statement, UEFA suddenly apologises, to me that's not good enough. But the scenes were there for all to see. Occasionally late kickoffs happen. We've seen this before. There's been transport disruption or bad weather has delayed a kickoff. But in such a massive event and in such a high profile match, it is not a good look for UEFA where this has happened. And it has happened on international TV. So there's a lot of focus now on future tournaments and on future Champions League and Europa League finals. Bearing in mind, UEFA were heavily criticised back in 2019 for the locations of the two finals they chose in Baku and I believe in Spain, when, Baku especially, for the ticket price and the distance fans had to travel from Western Europe to get to Baku. They're facing further criticism over a European final yet again. And we can argue, yes, legitimate fans sold their tickets for overinflated prices, which I do agree is wrong. But the allocation of tickets was already criticised going into this final. The same with the Europa League final and the Europa Conference League final. The ticket allocation and the price of tickets at first sale has been criticised about UEFA finals for some time. And then the issues with policing and security at this game and at other big Champions League and Europa League finals over recent years has been criticised. There comes a point where fans are starting to really lose faith with UEFA entirely in making sure events like this go off without a hitch. But there we go. Thank you very much for watching. A bit more of a rant this video, but it has to be said, UEFA have finally issued an apology to both Real Madrid and Liverpool over the Champions League final chaos. What are your thoughts on what happened last week? Please place in the comment section below, and I'll have some more videos for you very, very soon.